Hello, Brick Sculptors, and welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris, and it just occurred to me I have not done a tips, tricks, and techniques video for a very long time. I've also been working quite hard on my Lego City, trying to get it kind of buttoned up and looking good for a possible upcoming show. So I figured let's go ahead and do some tips, tricks, and techniques for small city accessories. Now I'm going to cover a variety of different accessories here for your Lego cities. These are just going to be small fill-in items, things to use throughout your cities, and hopefully you guys can pick up some cool tips here to using your own Lego cities. The first thing I want to share with you are some different drinking fountains. Check this out. So the first one here I'm going to create with these basic pieces here. We have a 1x1 round or conical brick. We have one of these T-bar pieces. We're going to plug that right in there. We're going to take a D-snot piece. We're going to put that upside down on this extending arm here, just like that. And then we're going to take one of these 2x2 dish pieces and put that on that upside down D-snot. That'll be the bowl for our water fountain. The next thing we're going to add is one of these clips with bars on it on the right side here. That's going to be for the lever to activate the water fountain. And then we're going to take a couple of 1x1 round plates with open studs. We're going to plug one on here. We may have to pull our dish out just a hair. And I'm going to put a second one on there. And then this piece here, this angled minifig posing stand, is going to go right in the top, and that'll be our spout. Now if we want to add some water to this, a Translite blue feather works really nicely. We'll just plug that in the end there. And look at that, we have a nice water fountain. If you don't want water coming out, you can also turn that minifig posing stand over and shorten it up a bit to give it a little bit better detail there. But of course, then you don't get the water effect. So 2 different water fountains you can do there. Now, when I was a kid, we often had these water fountains in the park that were like big cement or like limestone rock type things, and they had 2 water fountains on them, 2 different spouts. They always had a little stool for kids on one side and then kind of a dish in the middle, and the water would just flow down there. So I decided to make this one here. This is just these 1x2 plates with open studs and rounded edges, and I mix up the colors a little bit just to give it a little bit more detail. And then around the rim here I have these tiles and a couple of these spouts. I also did one in tan and dark tan with a little bit of sand green in there because, like I said, these were often made out of limestone. I have different pieces on top, mostly because I didn't have those pieces in this color, but I think they both look good. Got a little different stool on there as well. And I'm going to show you some water techniques you can add to these. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add some water down in the middle. Got my star-spangled knife here. I actually have to shorten up this central piece. In the center here, I have one of these tiles or these 2x2 round jumpers, and then I just have a stack of plates here. We're going to take one of these plates out to shorten it one, and then put a second dish inside, and that'll be our water down in the middle there. So you got a little bit of water in there. A couple of techniques you can use for water streams. Number one is using minifig posing stands linked together. I've used this in my Lego City for splashing water. And you can just kind of plug them in here, and then you have arching water on both sides. You can angle them however you want to get the desired effect. I think that looks pretty cool. I'm going to do something a little different on this one here. I'm going to do the same thing by popping the middle out here and putting another dish down in the middle. But I'm going to do a different color here. Don't judge my star-spangled knife. I'm going to use Translite blue water in this one. I know some people like clear because it's a little more realistic. Blue obviously implies water, even though water in this setting really wouldn't be that blue. But here we've got a little bit of water down in the middle. And this one I'm going to use the feather pieces in Translite blue. You can do a large one there to give a big stream. Or if you just want a small stream of water, you can use a small flame, an individual flame like that. I think both look really good there. And of course, you could just do one side, have a minifig at one, maybe you have a kid on the stool. Lots of cool ways you can add detail to your Lego builds. On the note of water, I decided I should also do a pump. And so I made this pump here. I've got a spyglass, a spigot, 1x1 round, one of these pieces with the bar piece, and another 1x1 round. And I'm just going to add some stuff on top. A red old school flower works really good for a spigot, a knob. And then I can take a crowbar in red and put it on here, and that'll act as the pump for our pump. The lever, not the pump, the lever. And then I can take some water here, one of these feather pieces, and put it out of our pump. And I made a nice little base here that we can have it flowing into a barrel, just like that. I'm probably going to put that in one of the campsites in my Lego city. So a lot of this stuff is going to make its way into my Lego city. On the note of water, let's also do some fire hydrants. Now, for most fire hydrants, I find that the Travis brick is kind of the best base to use because it has so many connection points. Ideally, I'd make these in red, but fire hydrants do come in all different colors all over the world. So I'm going to have them in gray because I didn't have red Travis bricks. Sorry. Real simple one here, just some 1x1 round plates on 3 sides. And I have one of these 2/3 bricks, plates. Someone in the comments in the last video called them blates on the bottom. And then I have this kind of conical shaped piece on top that makes a nice little fire hydrant. If I want to add a little more detail, I can change the pieces up a little bit. And I can use the rounded piece on top. Now I did add a plate in here just to make it stick up a little bit more because it doesn't have the chamfer that one does on the bottom. And then I just used bottle toppers for my valves on the ends there. I think that looks pretty good. A couple different designs you can pick from there. This you can also make taller. Here I can add a round 1x1 round brick on the bottom because fire hydrants do come in various heights. And another thing I thought was kind of cool is you could do like a valve on it, put a big wheel on the front. Maybe for a more industrial setting, I don't know, but there are a ton of different fire hydrants out there, so just some basic ones to use around the city. All right, another thing that's really cool for adding detail around cities is garbage. Garbage cans specifically. I did do a whole video on garbage. I'll link that at the end of this video. One of my favorite trash cans to make just uses a Travis brick and these vent pieces. You just put 4 of them around the outside. Now this is not a Brick Sculpt original design here. I did take this from an old Lego set. Actually, the old Octan set that I based one of my challenges around had this trash can in there. And it looks really good, like a wire mesh trash can that you could put in like a public park. And this also works as a smaller trash can in like an office setting, I find. So that's a cool way to do trash. Another one that I used in my bike shop mock is just taking these 2x2 rounds with the ridges. And this is a lot like one of the trash cans we have outside the shop. Stacking 2 of those up and then take one of these 2x2 round tiles with the hole in the middle and put it on there. Now the hole is kind of small, but it kind of looks like a trash can that you would put like recyclables in, like cans or something like that. So I do like that design as well. Now obviously you have the traditional Lego trash can, but I'm going to make some that are a little bit more untraditional. And the base I use for pretty much all of these is going to be this here, this bin. Now these bins are really handy and there's so many cool things you can do with them, but they're kind of hard to adapt. So I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can make this look a little bit more like a trash can. Now this one I've shared in videos in the past, but we're going to take a bin here, and this works best if you can put a 2x2 jumper underneath it, because it gives you a little bit more sticking power down inside. You don't have to do that, but it makes it a lot stronger. So if you can bury that in a sidewalk or change the color and put it where you need it, it will definitely be beneficial to you. From here, I'm going to take a 3-long bar. I'm going to put 2 1x1 round plates with open studs on it and stick it down inside the bin here. And this is where that jumper comes in really handy because it gives it a lot more grip. And that'll just stick up above the top here. Then I can take a 2x2 tile and stick it on top and just kind of slowly push it down to get it to the height that I want it. And then it looks like a kind of public trash can with a lid on it. I like to make these for my city and put them side by side with a gray one, so it looks like you have a trash and a recycle next to each other. You can also change the tops up. So this one here, I did the same thing, but I just added a couple cheese slopes on top. It does look a little tall. Ideally, I actually like this design, where I would take a one of these roof pieces. I didn't have these in dark gray. And just stick one of these on there. It's got a little lower profile. I think it looks a little better. Another really cool way to do a public trash can, start with our bin. And then we're going to take a couple of different things. I have a 1x2 brick here, a 1x2 tile. I'm going to put that on top of the brick. And then I have one of these pieces, like the old toolbox piece or like the car seat back. And I'm just going to stick these on top. There's not a great connection on here, but these 4 pieces do act to connect pieces either 1x2 or 2x2 on there. Put that on the front, put the brick behind it. And it looks like a slotted trash can that maybe has a door hanging in it. I wish it was hollow, but it's okay that it's not because it could be like the flap coming down. But I think that's a really good look for a public trash can. Same thing here, I can pair it with a gray one so we have our trash and recycle. Another really cool one I thought up, again, we'll start with our base. And we're actually going to use a snot piece, a 1x2 snot brick. And on the front of this, I just want to stick one of these clear panel pieces with panels on 3 sides. I'm going to put that upside down and that facing downward. Then I'm going to take one of these tops and put it right over the top here. I can stick this then on 2 of these connection points, and it looks really cool. It's got a nice opening to it. You can pitch in there. I really like how that turned out as well. We can expand on that and do like a sloped top if we prefer. Or another really cool use for this, if I do it in the right color, it looks like a post box. Now, a more traditional post box and a little bit easier to build might be something like this, where we just put a slope on top and a handle. And I decided just for fun I was going to do a newspaper box as well. So I've got some plates here, snotted on the side, newspaper sitting inside some panels there. I think that turned out really cool. On the topic of mail, let's do some mailboxes. A very simple one here. We can take a spyglass, a 1x1 round with hollow stud, and then this here is 2 of these arched bricks on a 1x2 plate. And it makes for just the perfect little steel mailbox here. A lot of the mailboxes in my neighborhood look just like this. I haven't figured out a good way to do the flag on the side. I've tried a few different things. I haven't been happy with any of the designs, but overall I think that looks pretty good. Another mailbox I've used quite a bit in the past uses these brackets. Take 2 brackets like this. I'm going to take a tile 1x4 and attach them just like this. Now I can stick this down to whatever I want to attach it to the base with. I don't love that this sticks out, but it's kind of hard to avoid. And then I'm going to take my mailbox. Same thing, just use these curved bricks on top of a 1x2 plate and a really nice little detailed mailbox. You can also build this with more traditional bricks using 1x2 bricks and just a normal plate. And on this one, I left a little piece on the end here because my wife came down while I was building these and said, you need one with flowers on the back. So why not? Took a couple of flowers. This is one of those bouquet pieces. It's actually an off-brand one because they're too expensive. Sorry, I don't use a lot of alt bricks, but sometimes you got to. And that's just going to stick on the back there. And I think that looks really nice for a decorated mailbox there. I get a lot of neighbors that have flowers in their mailboxes. I can't keep plants alive, so I don't do that on mine. But another way you can do mailboxes, instead of using those curved bricks, you can do this, which looks almost identical. The only difference here is the pole here has a snot brick, and these are actually 2 D-snot pieces. Now, these studs are too close for pretty much anything to attach to, except for a 1x2 tile, because they just have an open bottom, and you can attach it right on there with 2 studs right next to each other. I did change up the front to have a different color for a steel door or an aluminum door, but you can make it the same if you want. And I thought that looked really nice like that. I also put one of these pyramid pieces on top because I thought that was a nice little added touch. If you wanted to make the upright pole on this a little bit thinner, you can also do it out of plates and tiles here. This is the same mailbox, just on a jumper plate, but here you can see that it's a little bit thinner this way. I think it looks a little more realistic. The only problem here is we're going to have to attach it to the base. This is going to require some snot magic, and will work best in a Mills plate. So here I've got a snot piece here, 1x2. You could do it 1x1 also, but I only had 1x2s in green. And we can just build some bricks around it here. And then, like I said, if you had a Mills plate, you could take something like this and bury it down in the ground and get a nice detailed mailbox there that sticks up. Now, a lot of times in my neighborhood, I also see these brick mailboxes. And I thought I'd try one of those. So I took some masonry bricks and a 1x2 jumper snot piece, Some cheese slopes on the top. I think that turned out really nice. I did one in gray as well with a different colored door. And one final mailbox, my wife challenged me to do a fish mailbox like you might see in the North Woods per se, much like my city. I couldn't quite figure out a good brick-built one, so I gave her this instead. It's not the best, but I thought it was funny, so I included it in the video. Another nice way to add detail around your LEGO cities is some electrical boxes. Now, when you're doing electrical boxes, I recommend not just stacking bricks. It's going to look very generic and very plain. I like to do things that kind of change up the LDU, the sizes a little bit, and get out of the traditional brick shapes. Things like using brackets and vents for texture. This is going to give kind of an irregular shape that you don't naturally see in LEGO very often. You can also do things like add panels, parts that stick out a little bit, look like doors. Maybe you could do a taller version here with some plates or tiles on the side and some vents. You just really want to mix it up and have a lot of different shapes and things. There's a little bit longer one. I also often see these round ones that you can kind of pull the top off of. And sand green is a great color for this. Sand blue would work as well. I think that light gray and sand green are the best, but that looks really good there. They often have a rounded top. Now this piece here, you have to do upside down. So we have a stud reversal in the bottom here, where I have two of these plate jumpers, one with the open stud and one with the normal stud. And I just built the whole thing upside down so I could put that rounded top on there. You could also give it some texture by using these ones with the vents on them. Although this, I think, looks a little bit more like what I see around town. You could do a real big one here with lots of different techniques. I even got some of these door rail pieces in there. And a couple other small ones here. This one's got some nice doors on the front, or just a vent. So sprinkling those throughout the city can add a lot of detail to your mock. And I also wanted to do some trash cans on wheels, things that you might see in a more industrial setting. One trash can I've been wanting to do for a while was to take a bin like this and put it on wheels, like something you might have at your house, but I couldn't figure it out. And when I just tried to do it out of bricks, it looked way too square. And so I came up with a design I'm pretty happy with. Let me know what you think. So I used one of these rounded bricks, these scalloped bricks, to give it some texture so it's not just squared off. Then I attached one of these wheels just with some clips on the bottom, got a bar up top and an angled lid. I think it looks pretty good. One problem though is when you set it down, it kind of leans forward. If you're able to do some snot work in like a Mills plate, you can bury a bracket like that and prop it up on there, and it will sit nice and flush then. I also want to do some dumpsters. I did this one here. I've got some slopes on the sides, some brackets in here, and then just some detail here on the back for the hinges, and then handles on the side. I think that turned out pretty good in dark green. I also wanted to try one with wheels, so I did this one in dark blue, made some kind of faux wheels out of 1x1 rounds on the bottom, and I think that turned out pretty cool. Oh, I didn't have a tile for the back, so sorry about the studs there. It's supposed to look like this on the back, but you'll put it up against the wall, you won't see it anyway, right? Now, on the note of garbage, one cool thing to do if you're doing like a bunch of garbage in an alleyway, cardboard boxes add a lot of detail. And one piece that's great for a cardboard box is this. The problem with this piece is that when you put a tile on top, it just looks like a brick. It doesn't have a lot of detail to it. So what I recommend doing is taking them and putting jumpers on them. That way you can stack them and give them a little twist, and then it looks like a stack of boxes, and I think that looks pretty good. To give the implication that it's trash, you can also plop a trash bag right on top. And if you're doing this in a mock, you could take a dolly, something like this, have these just have a little twist to them. You don't want them straight on, put them on the dolly, and that'll just add a ton of detail. Another cool thing you can do with these boxes, put two 1x2 tiles on it like this, and then just spread them apart. And there you have an open box. I think that looks really cool. You can do the same thing with cheese slopes as well. Another nice way to add detail to these, and I've used this in a lot of different designs and mocks, take a small chain and put it down the side. And it looks like it's got a bunch of screws or hardware or just miscellaneous items down in there. And it just gives a nice little touch that it's not an empty box. A couple simpler ways you can do brick-built boxes. I've seen this one quite a bit, where you just take cheese slopes and put them in 4 different directions. It looks like the flaps of a box are coming open. That's pretty cool. Or another thing you can do is just take 1x1 tiles and stick them down, and you might even want to just maneuver them around a little bit to give them just kind of some weird gaps. And then it looks like 4 flaps that have been overlapped and closed up the box like that. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about parking meters. For a long time, I've made parking meters for my cities, and this is the design I typically use. It's one of these like pizza holder pieces on one of these cone pieces, and then just a gauge on there. And I think it looks pretty good, but I wanted to play around with this and see if I can improve on it. So I made some new designs that I like quite a bit better, actually. The first one is this here. I took a 2 long bar, put that up the middle. I've got a cone piece in it. Then I've got one of these 1x1 rounds with bar on it, and then a gauge. And there's several different gauges you can use. I'm going to show examples of lots of different ones throughout this. Real slim, real minimalist, but it looks pretty accurate. If you want a little bit more detail to it, I did this one here where I have a gauge and I have a keypad. You know, more modern one, you could probably pay with a card, not just coins. It is a little bit thick through here where I've got this 3 long rounded edge plate. I've got a 2 long plate, one of these 1x1s with a bar on it, and then of course our front, but I think it looks really good, especially from the front there. Side angle, like I said, a little bit thick, but that's okay. You could make it a little bit thinner, although you're going to lose the curved top if you do this method here, where I just took one of these 1x2 plates with the bar piece on it, a clip, and then a keypad and a gauge. And you can also mix up the gauges and keypads. There's lots of different designs out there. Here's a different gauge and a different keypad on the same design. Well, I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you got some good ideas out of this, and hopefully you can implement some of this stuff in your own LEGO cities and MOCs. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do more just like this in the future. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll do my best to answer them. That's all I have for this time, and we will see you next time.